Welcome back. Today we're doing something a little different, a bit more theatrical. We are taking a thrilling descent into some of the most haunting, dark folklore ever recorded. But listen, we aren't just sitting around a campfire telling ghost stories today. No, we are actually looking at how ancient people use these terrifying, visceral monsters as a brilliant visual metaphor for the collapsing human mind. So when we talk about the architecture of interior shadows, we're literally mapping out the landscape of our own psychology when it's pushed to the absolute brink.
Think about this quote for a second. The true danger is not the storm outside, but the emptiness that finds its way inside. I love this because it perfectly sets the tone for our journey today. I want you to imagine this explainer as almost like a graphic novel-style journey inward. We usually think of monsters as external threats, right? Things we can build a wall against, lock out, or just run away from. But as you'll see, when the monsters are actually manifestations of your own despair, well, your physical defenses are completely useless.
Part 1. The Shifting Forest Geography. Okay, let's dive into this first act of our descent. Imagine standing right at the edge of a dense, incredibly dark woodland where the trees just don't stay where they're supposed to. We have this physical dark forest, which is characterized by a shifting geography and a kind of shapeless hunger. But look at what this actually represents: the human mind. The shifting geography of that forest is a direct visual metaphor for the collapsing structure of a mind that's losing its grip on reality. The path through the woods isn't leading you to some physical cabin. It's a journey inward, deep into your own exhausted doubt.
Section 2. The Boneless Identity Collapse. So, as we walk deeper into this metaphorical forest, we hit our first terrifying entity, and it warns us about the extreme fragility of form. This is the Benlos Ondin, or the boneless. Now, it's not described as a beast with claws or fangs, but as an anti-structural force. Its primary horror is that it turns your internal, sturdy ribs into gray dust, all while leaving your external skin completely unmarred. Think about what this personifies. It is the absolute perfect representation of an internal collapse of personal identity. You might look entirely fine on the outside, projecting this hollow illusion of security to the world, but inside, your structural integrity, your actual sense of self, has been completely dissolved. And this brilliantly illustrates the horrific sensory reality of that collapse, a mockery of life that eventually collapses into a heap of hide and wool. The folklore here is showing us exactly how despair functions. Despair doesn't attack you from the outside. It hollows you out from within. It reduces the self to a mere bag of dust, creating a literal empty space for the void to come in and occupy.
Which brings us to a pretty stark realization. Iron doors and stout farmhouses cannot protect a hollowed core. Let me ask you, what are your iron doors? We all build them, right? Careers, daily routines, external achievements. But if the emptiness finds its way inside, if your internal architecture is already compromised by despair, those thick doors absolutely won't save you.
Part 3. The Weight of Secret Doubts. All right, so what is it that actually breaks our internal structure down? Enter the Aufhawker. Moving deeper into the mind's forest, we find this creature, and it isn't a wolf or a bear. It's described as a shapeless, clinging malice. Most importantly, it is the physical manifestation of every secret fear and exhausted doubt you carry into the dark. It doesn't seek to kill you with teeth. No, it kills you with the crushing, overwhelming weight of knowing. Let's walk through exactly how this psychological creature attacks you. Step 1. You enter the darkness carrying a secret fear or a doubt that you just haven't dealt with. Step 2. The Aufhawker leaps onto your back, literally turning those secrets into immense physical gravity, forcing you into a stumbling gait. And then step 3, the weight becomes so immense that you are anchored to the ground in a permanent kneeling position. It is your own hidden psychology quite literally dragging you down into the earth. And that gives us one of the most crucial survival lessons in this whole explainer. The darkness only has the weight you give it. In this metaphorical world, everything is made of light and weight. To survive the journey inward, you must carry no secrets. Your hidden doubts are the very gravity that allows the darkness to anchor you down. Section 4. The Architecture of Wailing Thresholds. But what happens when you reach the very edge of the human mind? I want to paint a visceral scene for you of this liminal borderland between human civilization and the shapeless hunger of the absolute wild. In this place, the geography folds in on itself. The stones beneath your feet aren't just rocks, they are calcified agony. The mist swirling around you isn't just water vapor, it's the cold breath of those who have already succumbed to the void. The wailing voices of the fallen have literally become the architecture of the space. You are walking through the physical structure of grief and madness.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what it actually takes to survive in this environment. It requires unimaginable sacrifice. The lantern bearers are the protectors of this border, and their rites are extreme. To hold the fragile circle of light, they must practice the silence of the marrow and perform the grisly rite of the hollow chest. Let's focus on the sensory details of that hollow chest ritual for a second. It requires a metaphorical, agonizing scraping out of your own empathy. You have to imagine the physical sensation of making your own ribcage entirely empty, severing your emotional connections so that when the void screams at you, the sound passes right through your hollowed torso without vibrating against a human heart. You survive the threshold by becoming as empty as the threshold itself.
And that reveals a deeply tragic irony. By the time a protector reaches the end of their path, they are often as pale and shapeless as the horrors they repel. This explores what's called the most dangerous mercy in human psychology. If you spend your life listening to the echoes of the void, trying to protect others from it, you eventually just get replaced by the emptiness yourself.
Part 5. The Unreflectable Wilderness Void.
So past those thresholds, past the shifting geography, we arrive at our final, chilling descent into absolute indifference. Here we find the Ozark Howler. Now, this is incredibly specific. It's not just a monster or a nightmare to be named. It is the mountain's way of looking back at you. It represents an infinite, unreflectable consciousness. Meaning, if you held up a seeker's mirror to capture it, you would see absolutely nothing. It represents those vast spaces in reality and in our own minds where humanity is simply not meant to tread.
Let's move to this comparison and see how it all builds, because it reveals a massive contrast between our human illusions and the uncanny truth of the wilderness. We like to believe in light and form, but the truth is a shapeless hunger. We think we're the master of our own path, but the wilderness truth is the absolute silence of the void. And most terrifyingly, we tell ourselves the monster's out there, but the myth reveals that the monster is the very space you occupy. The hard truth is that we eventually get absorbed by the vast silence we try so desperately to control. Which leaves us with this final, truly haunting question to consider. As you build your own internal architecture, your own iron doors and sturdy ribs, are you truly the master of your path? Or, when the heavy secrets drag you down, are you merely a space for the void to occupy? Think about that. Thank you so much for exploring these fascinating, shadowy depths with me today on The Explainer. I'll see you next time.